Hey, Josiah and Sam. It's funny, Bill Billingsley here. I've never met either of you, but after spending, 40 or so hours with you, by the way, I'm on all the small things on the pod, I feel like I know you both, especially you, Josiah. Long Johns with your dysentery issues and the cat, the claustrophobic office. Yeah, you get the picture. So in any case, really enjoy the pod as I tweet out often, and I think you guys are hilarious and do a great job. So Josiah wanted to know two things for the Pod Nation. One was about my mysterious absence in January, and the second one was about what happened with my idol and your idol too, Tom DeLonge. So I'll start with the mysterious absence. It's really pretty simple. For my job, I work in I don't know how to say it, kind of a public organization, and I maintain a professional Twitter account, and I also maintain my organization's Twitter account. And then I started at WSB 333 only when I started listening to the pod. And I just set up my new account just because I thought it would be fun to interact with Josiah and Sam and give them shit and just do what I'd like to do. And so what happened was some people in my organization started following me on my at WSB 333. And so I just didn't want them to see the Travis Vegas stuff and the bar setup and just a lot of other crap that I have on there that it just wasn't appropriate. And so I had to go back to some individuals and say, please unfollow me. And I'm pretty much not asking you. You have to do that. So it took me a couple weeks to get through to people and have them unfollow me. And I said, you can follow my professional Twitter account, but this is one just dedicated to my passion to Blink-182. I mean, I didn't actually say that, but I said, please just unfollow it. It's my personal. So it took me a while to sort it out. So that's that. And then, as far as the Tom DeLonge visit, you guys know that was prompted by a book signing that he did. And if you follow that Crazy to the Stars website, they actually have announcements about when Tom is gonna be there. So some of you know that I live about 10 minutes from that To the Stars store in Encinitas. And if we're out there that way, I always make a point to stop in and say, hey, is Tom here today? And they always say, oh, no, you just missed him. Or he might be at the Starbucks down the street. So he hangs out in Encinitas, which is really close to my house. So Tom DeLonge lives about 10 minutes from Encinitas, and I live about 10 minutes from Encinitas in opposite directions. So I'm always kind of on the lookout. But I've never actually met him. I've seen Blink in concert many times, but I've never actually met him. So when I heard about the book signing, I immediately jumped on that. And how it went down is you had to go to the Stars store on Friday at 10 a.m. and get a wristband, because they were going to limit it to 200 people to see the show, or to get into the book signing, I should say. I wish it were a show, but so I got down there at 9:30, and as you can imagine, it was just like a love fest for Blink. There was a book involved. I have no idea what the book was. I actually bought 2 copies of it so my wife could come too. And I haven't even looked at the book. No one knew anything about the book. No one cared about the book. Everyone was just there to see Tom. Tom's from San Diego, as you know, Poway, but now he's a coastal San Diego resident. And so it was just pretty funny to see probably 100 people lining up, and solely because they wanted to meet Tom DeLonge, and myself included. So my wife and I were in the 20s, so we were pretty stoked on that. We got in early. We got a good spot. And so then that night we showed up, and I have video of the like really cool atmosphere that was going down at that little storefront that he has. It's called To the Stars. And I've actually sent out pictures on my Twitter of me standing in the stars, like sending pictures of the crazy little store and where Tom's office is in the back. So that's like basically what I do when I'm down in Encinitas, trying to track Tom down. And so, but it was awesome. The whole thing was super cool. So I waited in line, and before I had left the house, I have a To the Stars shirt that was given to me once, and I just had a thought before I was leaving the house. Hey, I should write the pod on the back with Sharpie, which I did, and I don't know if they're going to allow pictures. I don't know if he's going to be signing shit or what. But so I just ended up wearing my shirt down and waited in line. And then got around to talk to Tom, and it was awesome because Tom actually was taking pictures with every single person, and he had a photographer, so you just handed your phone to Tom, or Tom's photographer, then Tom would do whatever you wanted to do. And so I talked to him briefly. He signed my book. In my book cover, I had written the pod at Blink 155 pod. And so I said, hey, I'm sort of involved with this pod, and we're doing a podcast on every single one of your songs. And he goes, oh, that's super cool. And so he just kind of played it off. He didn't really seem like he really knew it, although we who listen to the pod know that he has interacted before indirectly with pod, and certainly I send him lots of tweets and put him on tweets, and so he definitely knows that the pod's around, but he just kind of played it off. He was like, just as you would expect. The word I use for Tom DeLonge is just goofy. He's just a goofy guy, and he's willing to play along with you. And he was signing things for people, and he was just in a great mood. And so it was a super cool experience. And I have a bunch more pictures, and I have a video, like I said, that I can put out there as well. I didn't have a lot of time to talk to him, but it was very, very cool. And even my wife said at 9:30 when I'm going down there to wait in line, she's like, what the hell would you be going down there to wait in line to get a ticket to see a book signing? And I just looked at her and I said, because it's Tom DeLonge. Like, what the hell? Of course there's going to be a huge line. This is San Diego. This is where there's so many Tom DeLonge fans here. So she pretty much couldn't believe it when we got down there too. And it was just like this huge Tom love fest down there. So anyway, that's my story. It was very, very cool. I wish I could tell you that Tom immediately said, yeah, I know that pod, or, oh, that's really cool. But he didn't. But it was like a lifetime of coolness that we had at that night. And then actually, like, half of like all the 200 people went to this bar across the street afterwards, and we're all just like comparing Tom stories, and what did he say to you? And oh, he signed my Tom signature guitar. And so it was actually pretty cool. Lots of love for Tom DeLonge. So anyway, that's my story. And I'll try to post some more stuff, and I will definitely continue to be engaged with the pod. Like I said, Josiah and Sam, you guys do a great job, and I can't wait to get caught up. All right, would love to be on the pod. My goal is actually to co-host with you on the pod, so I'll just put that little teaser out there, and y'all have a great day, and hopefully talk to you soon. Bye.
I actually don't even know where to start. There's actually so much has happened.
The last few days have been a real whirlwind.
Yeah, like most of our interaction it now takes place outside of the podcast on GChat, where we just constantly LOL at various happenings in the Blink 155 world, because it's been happeningful for sure.
So over the weekend, I thought the big narrative of the weekend was that someone commented that our last episode was our worst episode yet. That's like, I thought that was like, probably fair. Probably funny.
I did not think it was fair. So whoever that person is, stop listening to the pod. You're not welcome anymore. That episode was sick. It was extremely long, and every second of it was engaging.
It was a real roller coaster of, instead of like emotional roller coaster, like IQ roller coaster. Like it was dipping up and down between incredibly stupid commentary and then very smart things from our guests.
Yeah, no, it was pretty great. And then I thought the big news of the weekend was that I went to go see Hot Water Music with sister of the pod, Suzanne, and future husband of the pod, Graham. And
never heard of them.
No, they're new characters in this world that we're building.
Oh, no, this rapidly expanding world.
Yeah, it's scary. It's like really like Game of Thrones. At the start of Blink 155 now, we're going to do like an intro where sort of like which universes we'll be discussing on the episode. And I know that because I just started watching Game of Thrones. It's a very fresh reference for me.
It's very hip. That's really, if you were from 2012, people would be like, ooh, zeitgeisty.
Yeah. It's a lot like politics, have you noticed? So we were at Hot Water Music, and Chris Woolard of the band has sort of taken a step back from the band just to deal with, I think, some mental health and whatnot. And so Chris Cresswell, friend of the pod, guest of the pod, and member of the Flatliners, stepped up and filled in for Chris in Hot Water Music. And it was honestly pretty sick. Like he was really good, and I was like, my friend is in Hot Water Music.
So just 1 second, we've joked that all of your guests are named Chris, and you're telling me that a Chris replaced another Chris.
Yeah,
and you were there for it.
I was there to watch a Chris ascend to another Chris's plane.
The Chris's are all pretty much interchangeable, I guess.
But
at this point.
You could just swap in any punk Chris. It's actually very funny. The other person who has filled in for Chris Woolard in his time away from the band is Chris from Less Than Jake. Actually, I didn't even think about that, but that's true. So a lot of punk Chris's out there. The point I'm trying to make is that, I texted Chris Cresswell after the show to be like, dude, that was insanely cool. And
his name is already basically two Chris. It's Chris Cresswell.
Yeah. He was destined to be in a punk band.
I'm not even trying to dismay or trying to sabotage your story, but literally every time you open your mouth, you say the word Chris.
Yeah, it's true because I'm a punk. And so Chris Cresswell was describing to me how, thanks. And I was listening to the pod, in the van today. So like something. And I was like, does this mean that Chuck Reagan has heard Blink 155? And so I was like over the moon about this and going to text you to be like, holy shit, dude. I think sort of through this confluence of Chris's, Chuck Reagan has, perhaps been around a listening of the pod. But I was sort of tired and like kind of was like, I don't really want to like engage too much right now. I'm just going to go home and relax. And so in the middle of that relaxation, you kind of dropped the true weekend bombshell on me.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. There's this pile of stuff that's like, maybe we'll mention it, maybe not.
Yeah.
And then here's the amazing thing. I mean, this is me wanting to drop a surprise again that has already clearly been revealed. Bill Billingsley is fucking back, and he's back with a vengeance.
Is back.
It's clearly, as friend of the pod Nicole said, it's Bill season. Officially, Bill season.
Bill season is good. Bill season's my favorite season. Everyone says they love fall, but fall sucks. Like Bill season is truly the season for everyone.
So we've made some jokes about how like things like The Best Show require so much world building, and you can't just like roll up and listen to an episode and know what's going on. I fully understand that that's deeply what's going on here.
Yeah, we just cold opened this episode with 10 minutes from Bill Billingsley.
So I just want to, if somehow you're still here and you don't know what's going on, Bill Billingsley, what are the Coles notes? He lives in Carlsbad, California. He's an adorable middle-aged man who loves Blink-182 and also loves the pod.
He is the papa of the pod.
He's the papa of the pod. I realized last week that he sort of reminds me of Randy Quaid in the best possible way. Mm-hmm. However, Bill had disappeared after going to see Travis Barker on New Year's Eve. We had no idea where he was. He was tweeting at us endlessly, and then he disappeared. So that's, if you need to rewind and listen to the start of the pod again so that makes sense, maybe do that. It felt
and then
the most
you started
natural.
Talking to his nephew. Like, I don't want
Right.
to. I know we just did this, but like, you were investigating. Like, this was becoming a serial offshoot.
What if there's like an obituary out there for Bill Billingsley? Thank God we all know that's not the case.
Yes.
But the amazing thing is, like last week, we sort of like did the ultimate like ultimatum for Bill. Like, we're not going to mention Bill again until he shows up. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, he's not even caught up on the pod, but he just felt that it was Bill's season. He hasn't heard that yet, but he knew that it was Bill's season, and he just like. That's how you know it's a season. It's when these things happen that are like just spiritually connected, but not necessarily literally connected.
Yes, that's actually the definition of a season.
Exactly. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't even know what to say, but we didn't even get to the best part. So, Bill, The reason I messaged you on the weekend, Bill went to visit Tom DeLonge, and he wore a Blink-155 pod shirt, and he made Tom point at the shirt, and that's all we really need in life.
When you just say it like that, it does seem crazy that you and I have spent days messaging each other about this, like, full of like the joy of an 11-year-old child. But that's basically what happened. Is Tom is really pointing at a shirt that says at Blink-155 pod.
It's really quite pitiful and pathetic to be excited about, but, and this is also maybe another example of it being Bill's season, but the excitement is palpable. It goes beyond us. I mean, I've had tons of people messaging me. I can't wait to hear what happened with Bill. I can't believe this photo, everything about that. Like, we're not alone in this. We're not crazy, at least.
No.
Other people are equally excited about Bill's season.
Bill's season swept through Blink-155 Nation, or Blink-155 Pod Nation. What does he call it?
I'm not sure. And also, yeah, I think, what is that a reference to? It reminds me of like that Michael Moore 90s TV show, TV Nation. Or I don't know what in his mind makes him want to address the nation, but he doesn't realize just how international we are.
But I mean, a nation. I think it's the Pod Nation. I think that it ignores international boundaries. It's like being part of the KISS Army. Like, you don't have to live in KISS country to be conscripted into the KISS Army. Like,
can you be LGBT to be in the KISS Army? Like, or is it like the American Army? Or
I believe I was gonna say I feel like the KISS Army accepts all comers, but then do you remember that video that came out recently of KISS starting their encore by making the entire audience stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance?
I like that you said all comers in reference to LGBT.
Yeah, just all types of comers. So, to be honest, like, in my perfect version of the KISS Army, yes, of course. However, I think in Gene Simmons's, conservative, close-minded KISS Army, who's to say?
Well, either way, all are welcome in the Blink-155 Pod Nation. So there's the Blink-155 Pod Nation. Does that mean other podcasts are different nations that we would potentially war with?
Oh.
Maybe?
No, because I believe Blink-155 as a nation is a non-interventionist. Like, that we would only attack if attacked. You know?
Right. So we're just going to keep peaceful diplomatic immunity with the alkaline trio pod that has stolen our idea and never acknowledged us.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, let them fire the first shot, Josiah.
Okay, all right. Well, it's out there. I just want to say the Blink-155 Pod Nation is aware of the others, but
yeah,
we
have a big the Mountain Goats
podcast
that the guy from Night Vale started. We see you, Mountain Goats Night Vale guy.
Yeah, I mean that one's there's that one, and then there's the one that verbatim stole everything from us.
Gilmore guys, I see you, Gilmore guys.
Well, the Alkaline Trio one is still quite a. We'll see. I have this button on my desk that I might have to press one day. I wonder if they just like repeat our jokes but change them to be about Alkaline Trio every week.
Okay, so anyway, Bill took this photo with Tom, and there's also a theory that I'd like to express now that I don't think we've discussed yet on the pod, which is that, like, you know, Bill has been like the most active kind of Twitter presence in terms of interaction with the pod account. You know, now there's photos of him meeting Tom with a shirt, but I have kind of long harbored a suspicion that Bill is just Josiah, because like Josiah loves a good jape. You know, we've talked about your Justin Bieber shirt, which was the cease and desist story, but there's also your like Mumford and Sons clothing line that you started.
Right. Yeah.
What are some other big lies that you've perpetrated?
There was like the first one that I ever did was in like 2006 or something, or 2007, when I made those like fake YouTube covers, like really bad. I did a bad shirtless Creed cover.
Right, they're not fake. They are you shirtless covering Creed.
It is me, but like intentionally I made it as awkward and uncomfortable as possible. Like I made sure not to learn the lyrics before I started. I intentionally made it like very cringy. The username is Josh and Ange Forever. And I pretended that it was for my girlfriend Ange and I was Josh Hewis. And yeah, I just like intentionally made these like terribly clumsy cover videos that it kind of like predates everything we've talked about on here, because there's a lot of people who rightfully are telling me that I'm terrible and that I should like quit and give up and everything. But there's a lot of people who are being like strangely encouraging in the comments on these videos, like being like, you've almost got it. Just keep trying. But yeah, they're like very awkward, stilted covers that have gotten like, I don't know, not like viral, but whenever I check back, they have like 20,000 views or something.
Wow, that's pretty robust. And then, okay, what was the Mumford and Sons thing? Because it's a half-remembered thing for me.
That thing and the Justin Bieber Black Flag shirts I used to like launch this column for Aux magazine, AUX, which we both used to work for, I believe. Or you were like, what did you do? Is that where This Exists came from too?
Yeah, sort of.
Kinda?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh.
So anyways, I started doing like a monthly column where I would do like an internet prank. So I did one where like I pretended that Mumford and Sons launched their own clothing line called Rustic Authentics. And it was like just like, I don't know, stupid like fucking Blundstone boots or like overalls and wool pants and stuff, but I just like shittily photoshopped it so that it looked like a mock-up of like a fashion line.
Yeah.
And then I sent it to NME. It was posted on NME and I think BuzzFeed or something. Like I just sent it around and made it look real. And then I photoshopped a fake wedding invite for Chad Kroger and Avril Lavigne's wedding, and that got posted on Noisy.
Oh shit! Okay,
I just like made fake things and then sent them to blogs, and they posted them, and then nothing. I don't know. It's like so dumb and funny.
So this is important context, because this is the kind of person that you are. And so we embark on this project together, and all of a sudden, like at random, this like incredible character that's almost like, in retrospect, I feel like Bill is like so perfect that like you couldn't like write a Bill Billingsley, but still.
I was just going to say, this is a huge compliment that you think I could like, craft something this well-rounded.
But like, it was just all too good. I was like, I don't know. I have the suspicion that Josiah has registered multiple Twitter accounts to interact with our new podcast Twitter account. Like that, which is, so don't really take that as a compliment. And,
I mean, a compliment in that it's so sad and pathetic that I would have done that.
You would have engaged in this level of deception.
But no, I think if I was even thinking about this when we listened to that message that Bill so kindly sent us from his office in Carlsbad, California, or wherever he said he lives. If I had written Bill, I would have added an element of tragedy to him that does not exist.
Right.
Like he really is truly such a kind and seemingly innocent man that I personally think that he's underwritten as a character.
Right. No, I appreciate that. And it honestly was New Year's Eve before I conceded that Bill probably wasn't you, because he was on location in Las Vegas, like showing videos of like him and his wife getting ready to meet Travis Barker. And I was like, okay, that is clearly a man that is not Josiah. But then this message that he sent, I was listening to it right before we started recording, and wife of the pod Ashley walked by and kind of for a second was like, it could be Josiah. And so despite a photo of this man and Tom, despite video of him in Las Vegas when I was pretty sure you were in Calgary, but how would I know? And now an audio recording that pretty clearly is not you. There is a part of me that thinks that when we get to episode 155, you will sort of drop the ruse and reveal how many, like, that it wasn't just you, it was actually dozens of people. And I've basically been on the podcast equivalent of the Joe Schmo show for 3 years of my life.
I mean, not to add to your theory, but I mean, in the photo of him with Tom, you can't really tell that it's him. And I actually think I pissed off Bill by saying he made someone else wear the shirt because I just... from behind, Bill really does look like a teen.
Yeah, Bill takes care of himself. Like he's got a young man's physique. Like I was like, I thought maybe that was Nate. I was really not sure.
Me too. But then I said that he made someone else wear the shirt, and I said it was a homemade shirt, and he said that my tweet was weird for saying that stuff. So I apologize, Bill.
I was worried you made him mad, and I was like, dude, Bill is the only person I care about in this world. Please.
He's all I have. He's the only one who understands me. I do love in his message, he said that he understands me better. Really appreciate that, Bill. And I also noticed that he said that he's going to take over the pod. So I wonder if that's like an express threat for one of us.
Well, I guess stay out of Carlsbad, Josiah.
All I know is this podcast is officially so deep up its own ass.
Yes. So welcome to Blink 155, the internet's number one, finally number one in something,
Whoa.
Bill Billingsley podcast.
Yes.
Where this
Imagine if Bill Billingsley did the Alkaline Trio pod, I would lose it.
Oh, that's if I were running that podcast, I would ask Bill just to spite Josiah.
Yes. So I
this
mean,
week,
in the spirit of Bill Billingsley, like it sounds like he's spent a lot of time peering through the window at Tom.
Yeah, he posts up. He goes by the To the Stars Academy store every time he's in Encinitas and looks in the window, looks in for Tom. We've already played the song, so we're not like really looking for a segue here, but that's of course why we're talking about Voyeur on the Bill Billingsley 155 podcast. Josiah, I love this song. I don't think it's in my top 5, but I love it. Tell me how you feel about the song Voyeur by Blink 182. I was going to call it Blink 155.
Hopefully by
my phone autocorrects. Like my phone obviously used to autocorrect to Blink 182, and now it's like, you narcissistic pile of shit.
Well, yeah, first, before I say my thoughts on the song, I want to say we actually almost ran into a snag with the very foundation of our podcast when we were talking about doing this song because we had 2 different entries for the song Voyeur on our master list. And I think you kind of like, you especially seemed panicked about it.
I thought we had spoiled this entire experiment. So you chatted me and you said, wait, do they have 2 songs named Voyeur? And then you were like, oh, no, it's just in the spreadsheet twice. And I was like, holy fuck. Because like it was hard to figure out how many songs Blink had. And
I wouldn't be surprised if we run into another problem one day.
Yeah, like there's no way, like, look, I'm no mathematician. And so counting is very difficult, especially when you get past 10 or 11. And that list, I didn't even notice that there were 2 Voyeurs in it. Because probably by the end I was like not paying attention. And so all of a sudden you were like, oh, it's the same thing. And I went and I looked back, I was like, holy fuck. Like this podcast should be called Blink 154. Maybe we can pretend that that song that got recorded for the Help the Dogs compilation that Mark did, we'll just add that.
Right.
We'll just say that like that's a song or whatever. So
but
for
luckily,
a few minutes I was quite panicked.
Thankfully, there actually are 2. This band has 2 songs called Voyeur, which is alone in and of itself is ridiculous, but it's true. So there's a song called Voyeur that's from like one of the Lost Buddha demo tapes or something. I don't know when we're going to like tackle all these. Like sometimes we think, oh, we've done a hit, let's do like a deep cut, and then we still do a song that's pretty much a hit. But like there's going to be like half a year where we have to just talk about like horrible tape hiss garbage songs called like Untitled Number 3 or something.
Yeah, but we'll just wait until like the downloads are like precipitously declining, and then we'll just phone those episodes in, collect the Patreon money, do the damn it
And
episode,
then-
get the fuck out,
Yeah, exactly.
switch this to be an MXPX podcast or whatever.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Or like if world events get so bad that we know for sure that no one's going to be listening to a Blink-182 podcast while like nuclear war is breaking out, that's when we can do those shitty ones.
No, you know what? I want to make this commitment right now. If there is a nuclear war, the internet, God fucking forbid, gets taken down, I think we should make it our mission, like, to sort of find each other the way, like, in a disaster movie when families get separated, like, they always kind of, they cross the fucking world to rescue, like, their kid who joined the Peace Corps or something.
Like that Cormac McCarthy, what is that, The Road or whatever?
The Road, yeah. So I will the road to you, or vice versa, or whatever. And then we will continue this podcast until we both disintegrate into just like fallout dust.
Like if you end up at like a rust covered like shelter and you knock on the door and someone opens it and says, "What's the password?" The password will be Long John's.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll find us hunched around
I don't mean you say the word Long John's. I mean you have to shit your pants on the spot.
Yeah, it's a highly physical password.
Anyways, Voyeur.
So we're doing the good Voyeur, right? Because like
we're doing like the normie one.
Voyeur.
We're not doing like the deep cut yet because we're gonna wait until I don't know how. I honestly don't think we've been doing shitty enough songs yet. Like the worst one we've done is Reebok commercial. I don't know what we're gonna do when we get to these ridiculous. Like we have the Good Time. Cover of the Good Time soundtrack on our list, and it's like 20 seconds long.
Maybe we could get like, are there any surviving cast members of Good Time or whatever? I mean, like that can be.
We could get people from the movie Good Time, like the Safdie brothers, that Robert Pattinson movie from last year. That was really good. We'll just talk about that. Okay, I already have that one figured out.
Okay, good. So
anyways,
there we go. Solve one problem live on the pod.
Voyeur, the other Voyeur is not very literal with its lyrics, but this song is so okay. First of all, I love this song. I really like the music of it. It sounds so stupid and in such a good way. Like
yeah,
it sounds
totally.
it sounds like they all have their tongues flopped over their bottom lip while they're playing it. And everything about it is so good. The drums are like caveman idiotic, and I think that it's like a very transgressive and like terrible song lyrically, but it's, you know, we started that debate. I think you were talking about it with our guests last week. But we started that debate on our Twitter when I was making fun of how Matt Skiba still sings "Need a Girl That I Can Train," and then everyone was talking about like, oh, Tom's just being a character. He's not being shitty. And I think that's a really dubious line, and I think it's sketchy, but I do think this song is like beyond the pale of it's just a shitty comedy song.
Yeah, this song is really tough lyrically, and I remember hating it on this record. Like, this was always a song I would skip. Like, I just felt like it was kind of too dumb for me. And I don't know what it says about me that, like, the more I've aged and presumably have also, like, progressed in my politics, I actually like this song more and more because it's so dumb. And in that sense, the lyrics don't bother me as much as, like, Dumpweed, because that song feels like a real song, you know, that comes from a really sincere place. Whereas, you know, Hanif makes a great point in last week's episode, and I know that interview is buried deep in the podcast, but we started putting interview times for guests on that episode, and we will in the future, because if you haven't listened to it because you were like, holy fuck, I'm not going to listen to 2 hours and 50 minutes about natives, I mean, you're wrong. The whole pod is good. But his interview comes in around an hour, 45 minutes. And and he has some great points about this idea of Tom as the unreliable narrator. And I don't fully agree. I think some of it probably came from a just like juvenile misogynist place. This song feels so, it's like being mad at Biff Tannen. Like this song, and which is funny because obviously the song reminds me much more of like George McFly, but you just can't, I cannot muster up outrage at this song, despite the like truly bad.
Well, I think it does go back to that unreliable narrator point, because I think bottom line is when we learn about the ways that people like us and us too have been shitty in the past, it's always brushed off as, oh, he was just kidding. Like, you know, someone says something misogynistic or says something shitty or like quote unquote hipster racism or these kinds of things that are like thankfully being called out now are still done under the pretense of like, oh, I was just kidding. Why are you making such a big deal out of it? And that's where it becomes dangerous, because when he's saying I need a girl that I can train, he's not like, it's obviously tongue in cheek and exaggerated, but it's still like he probably thinks that. You know what I mean? But like he so clearly does not climb up a tree and sit there to watch someone change and watch her brother shower. And like he goes there so often that he notices the way the weather is changing on this tree. Like it's just so cartoonishly dumb that it's great.
Yeah. Like that's the thing is it's just, even where it sits in the record is so funny because like Pathetic is, I mean, I think we've said this before on the podcast. I mean, not just like one of the greatest Blink-182 songs, but like one of the greatest songs. Like as a sort of thesis statement of a record, as like a thesis statement for the band and what they're capable of. Like it just is so fucking immediate and perfect as an opening track on this record. And then following Voyeur, you have Damn It, the band's like most successful song, you know, depending on how you, I don't know really how it compares to All the Small Things or whatever, but still like this is the song they finish their shows with, you know, in 2018. But just they're sandwiching this like, there's no other Blink song that sounds this like caveman-esque, like this just like Neanderthals banging on a wall, staring at girls in a tree.
I know. And it's funny because I forget what song it was, but I feel like you've made even that point before. And I think that maybe this is a tradition in albums that has never really been discussed, but like, I think often albums will open with a thesis statement kind of, and then the hit will be number 3, but number 2 will always be this like sort of weird outlier, so I don't say it wrong, kind of track. Like track 2 is always kind of a weird misfit song, maybe.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I always thought track 7s were like the best track, like that was like a thing.
Yeah, totally.
Truly my theory. I can't necessarily even remember now why I thought that, except that I believe Machine Head on the first Bush album is track 7, and like Suburbia on Beautiful Midnight, the Matthew Good Band album, is track 7.
Right.
And there surely are other.
I think
Clumsy on Our Lady Pieces. Clumsy is track 7.
I think track 7 is definitely a valid point. And I think track 3 is usually the hit.
Yeah. And there is science to these things. I mean, like these are, you know, like well-crafted pieces of commercial artwork. So,
right. It's like teen boys think about this in their room when they listen to CDs. But the other problem is now every album is just like 30 tracks long. Like Migos Culture 2 was like 28 songs or something because of some way that they're gaming the system with streaming. So I don't think people really think about that anymore as much as they used to, maybe. But I do think it works really well because you're like, Pathetic is amazing, and then you're like, what the fuck is Voyeur? But then it's over so quickly, and then Damn It happens, and you're just like, I'm on a journey.
Well, it just kind of reminds you, and I guess that really is the purpose of putting songs like this early in a record after something that kind of grabs you, is just be like, okay, you're in the door, shit's tight, and then it's like a little weird, and you're like, oh, now I'm paying attention. Like, you know, you're not lulled into a sense of complacency, and you could not possibly be complacent while listening to this song. Like, it is, it's dumb, man. It's real dumb.
It's really dumb. But another reason I wanted to like talk about Dude Ranch again is because I recently realized that, like, you know, I'm the same as you, but I make fun of you. But like, I do feel like most Blink-182 songs are my favorite song while I'm talking about it.
Sick.
And
yeah,
I do fall into that sort of hyperbole. But I just, every couple months, I remember Dude Ranch, and I think it's like, without a doubt, definitely the best Blink-182 record.
Yeah, like putting this song on, you know, before we started talking, it's so immediate, like the sort of, and it's partially nostalgia for sure, right? But like hearing this song like instantly makes me feel 100 different things, and no matter how much I like even Self-Entitled or like Toy Piage, like they just can't compare to the way that this record and this song, like even this dumb song about jerking off in a tree, makes me like feel emotionally. It's. And then I think about the fact that this guy posed with a shirt that has the name of our podcast on it in 2018.
Right.
Like,
what a journey.
I had a poster on my fucking wall of this band. Like, Tom's face was near my bed for 10 fucking years, and now his face is on my phone screen next to the social media handle. I mean, it's
the more
complicated.
you explain it, it gets much worse.
It gets so bad so quickly. But hearing his voice and thinking this man is aware of the existence of Blink-155 is a special thing.
It's almost like a primal, honestly, it almost sounds like a Beat Happening song at first. Like the drums are so dumb and the clean guitar, it totally could be some like Cave Records, like stomping indie shit. And then
totally.
It still does actually, I never even realized, but this song has like na-na-nas in it, but they're really satisfying.
Well, they kind of earn the na-na-nas, and it feels like a deliberate sort of juxtaposition with these like incredibly kind of perverse lyrics. So to kind of balance like the kind of sophomoric sexual humor of the song, you put this kind of classic kind of pop song trick in there. It's so good. It also feels a lot like a gob song to me. And I imagine that's maybe part of the draw for you is like, this is a dumb gob song, and dumb gob songs are tight.
Like the thing is, I think that there's something true about how stupid this is, that things like Can't Get You More Pregnant or like newer attempts at being dumb or Golden Showers in the Golden State or whatever, they just don't, like this is like dumb but with integrity in some sort of weird way. Like I believe Tom, even though I know that this story isn't true, I believe that he thinks this is the funniest idea ever.
Yeah, I mean it's the same as like thinking later on this record that like Bend Over is like a worthwhile joke to repeat twice. It does come from a really sincere place, and you kind of get trapped in this thing that you're kind of forced to continue to, parade as like an adult, which obviously ties back into one of the reasons why like we respect Tom for maybe not wanting to do this every night for the rest of his life. At the same time, he goes on the Joe Rogan podcast, rude, by the way, and and immediately starts making dick jokes. Like it does feel like there's a part of his heart that still is shaped like a dick.
Yeah, like I think it's like it's very relatable to me. I'm trying to think of a joke to say it, but I think in my mind as well, adulthood is like constantly thinking of dick jokes, but also like occasionally wanting to seem like you have your shit together, or like having to sit through maybe work meetings or, semi-professional environments, which I don't really have to very often. But like, when I do,
just imagining here, yeah.
I just have like cartoon dicks floating around in my head whenever I pretty much talk to anyone all the time.
Yeah, I totally believe that. But yeah, the idea that this is a Beat Happening song into a gob song with like the way the kind of like, is it octave chords sort of at the end? Like in that kind of final chorus where it feels like it just rides on one chord. It kind of feels like really so big. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the trick is they're doing, so the chords are like descending, but then the octave chord stays in the same place. So it's just like an extra blanket of shit. Like I do think there's definitely some big rock chops on this song that makes it a better joke song than like say Degenerate, which I still don't completely hate, but it's probably the one I skip the most on Dude Ranch. But that's like a joke song that is truly a joke song. But this song has like a lot going on that keeps you latched on.
Yeah, it's definitely a song that makes sense to put as the second song in the sense that it's not like wholly alienating. It still has elements of the band that you could find appealing. Whereas, Degenerate is like, that's a joke. Like you can't put like, why don't you get a job or come out and play or California bumping in my trunk as track 2 on your record. I was trying to remember all of the Offspring jokes. Pretty Fly for a White Guy. Pretty Fly for a White Guy is early on that record, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a weird, it's a weird comparison because I think that was like, they had never really done a joke song before, and that one sort of worked as a real song too. But I don't want to. I don't think I don't want to ever talk about the Offspring. I hate them so much.
You don't want to talk about the Offspring?
I'll tell you what I do want to talk about.
Voyeur by Blink-182?
Yeah. Oh, I know what I was going to say. The other thing about this that resonates with me is like another guilty pleasure in my life, of which there are very few, because I think it's dumb to feel guilty about stuff. But I will say, I love, whenever they're on TV, I love like 80s and 90s screwball comedies that not necessarily this, I don't necessarily love this scene, but any movie that has a scene where like people spy on girls in the locker room is always a good movie. There's always like the dean of the school is mad about everything. Like, I don't know why it's like it was in every movie back then, like spying on people changing.
That's true.
And those movies are all good.
Yeah, without exception, a movie where someone spies on a change room, or like, I mean, starting with, you know, Back to the Future, you know, spy someone in their house, like that's good and be a great film. And do you think that was like the influence here? Because like, I don't know that I believe that Tom was a literal peeping Tom, unless he was. I don't know. You probably know this. You've done the research.
Yeah, there isn't actually very much info about this song. It's kind of like forgotten by time, but no one really said that about. But in the like Genius write-up, someone did mention Peeping Tom, and no one thought to make a joke about that. I guess it's just like so obvious that his name is Tom and he's peeping.
Wait, so you're sorry? You're just saying the joke that I made is too obvious. That's what I'm hearing. It's a critique of my performance.
And then the obvious episode starts again. We should make it so that every time we say a word that's a different song, that episode auto plays.
Well, it's like any of those sort of trendy videos for a while where, you know, it started with it's the trailer for the Bee movie, and every time they say Bee, it gets 5% faster. The idea that every time we say, like, as the sort of podcast continues, like, so, you know, even by now, I'm sure the podcast would be like 1,200 hours long, actually, because those are pretty normal words. There is some good stuff in that Genius post. I had it open to just sort of think about and read the lyrics, and you might have been getting to this, but one of the things that I was amused by in sort of revisiting the song is the like sexual innuendos that like went fully over my head when I was in the 7th grade and this came out.
Right.
Like the fact that it opens
the dinner plate
with,
one.
Yeah, so there's I'd eat her all if she was on my dinner plate, and then there's an annotation where it's like, yo, he means cunnilingus, but like accompanying the annotation is a photo of Tom where he's doing the thing where you like put your fingers in a V and stick your tongue out and make like a really disturbing face.
That's another thing that I feel like is lost to time. Like I feel like when I was in junior high age, everyone would always do that, but you don't really see people making that gesture anymore to reference.
It's true. In terms of like sexual gestures, I feel like you see a lot of people miming jerking off, because most of what we do now is like make fun of people who are like, oh, this guy's full of fucking blowhard jerk off, man.
Yeah.
And maybe we spend so much time sort of criticizing others that we don't spend enough time thinking about and performing cartoon acts of cunnilingus. Like, I don't really know.
Yeah, it's like, it shows how far we have to go for female pleasure in our society.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but also, what did that gesture ever mean? When people would do that, like, I feel like all it really meant was like, oh, I'm an edgy punk guy. Not like, it doesn't communicate a message, really.
Right, because it wasn't
mean like, fuck you.
It wasn't like lick my pussy, and it wasn't like I'm gonna lick your. Like, I don't really understand. Yeah, what they're getting at with this hand gesture, but I'm into it. So we're gonna bring that back.
Yeah, and also that line. So when I read the lyrics on a different site, it said I'd eat her out if she were on my dinner plate. So here it says I'd eat her all. I don't know what it originally was supposed to be, but this does seem like mentioning a cunnilingus joke with dinner plate. I feel like this is like the one sort of metaphorical joke that he probably built the entire song around.
No, this is like the only good metaphor that Tom has ever executed in his life.
So that part's funny. I think it's really funny how he says that there's a leaf in the way now, so he can't see her because there's one leaf. It's very like Adam and Eve-ish to me, but it's also just funny. Like if it's just one leaf, you could just move it.
Yeah, well, maybe it like kind of blew up and stuck to the window. Because that's how it's sort of like the intro to the Simpsons movie, right? Where like Bart is skateboarding about and various strategic leaves are falling its way. Maybe the Simpsons stole this from Voyeur by Blink-182.
Well, then surely you remember it shows his actual dick.
Yeah. Well,
Which is the best part. I mean, also is that this is a whole. We're way off the rails, but I've seen people debate whether or not like Simpsons cartoon pornography counts as child pornography, and there's like, I think there was like a lawsuit about that.
I don't want to get into this at all.
Why not?
You and I have joked about establishing a safe word for the podcast where we actually want something to be deleted.
Yeah. And you think Simpsons child pornography should be the phrase?
Yeah, I'll just call it Simpson Dick is the safe word now on the pod.
Let's see.
Unlike her view, but here's what I don't understand, because when he refers to the leaf, he says her view is now blocked by a leaf. So to me, that sounds like she can't see him because of the leaf, right? Because he's not saying my view.
You're right. I just I'm not focusing enough right now.
No, but
yes, you're right.
I think he may be misspeaking, because like,
no, I think he's saying she can't. Well, hang on. She caught me once, but I don't think that she cares now. Unlike before, her view is now blocked by a leaf. So is it that she can't see him because of the leaf, or she just doesn't care anymore? It's kind of. Yeah. Although actually, then again, it's maybe this is him at his best as a narrator, because in his mind he's justifying it by saying she doesn't care, but the reality is she just can't see him.
Oh, that's it. So he's basically planting these early seeds of Peeping Tom, the unreliable narrator.
Yeah, although I'm saying I think he's being very reliable here because we can understand that he's like a shitty bad guy.
Right. Oh, I guess what I mean is he's sort of setting those parameters for him to kind of go forth, and with this in mind,
right.
We now sort of approach everything he says from that new and enlightened perspective.
I also think the details of like how he knows about her whole family makes it really funny.
No, yeah, the brother is
brother
great.
Showers twice a week after supper. That's really funny. It's also a terrible line because does he shower twice a week or right after supper every day? Like it kind of it makes sense, but it's kind of weird.
Also, he's in order to rhyme inbred with, like, doesn't he say inbreed? Like, does he call him a filthy white inbreed?
I wasn't paying attention to that line, but
you're right. I guess he's rhyming inbred with head. Just in my mind, there was always a more elongated vowel sound there, but who knows?
Well, they don't call him Tom DeLonge for nothing.
Eee!
It was delongated.
Oh.
Also, again, another funny detail. Like, this song actually has some jokes in it. Like, looking in the wrong window and he can see that her dad is big and he's never seen his face. That's very funny. Makes me think that he might have seen the dad's dick.
I guess if he's just seeing the dad from the neck down, I mean, he's probably looking at some dad dick for sure. Getting getting those double D's.
Yeah, I don't know. This is and earlier when I mentioned those movies, I wanted to quickly say there's this movie called Up the Academy, which is like a shitty, I think, Porky's ripoff kind of.
Sick.
But it was made in the, I want to say early, maybe mid 80s. And it was a Mad Magazine movie. So it's called Mad Magazine Presents Up the Academy. And it was, the kid, Ralph Macchio is in it.
Okay.
And it did so badly, and everyone hated it so much that Mad Magazine actually sued the filmmakers to have their name taken off the poster. So it's like, but the movie's actually great. It's so stupid, and like characters just do stupid things for no reason, like with no good motivation. Like a hot teacher will just like make out with a student, or like the dumbest stuff happens. And there's a terrifying, like real life looking Alfred E. Newman. But that movie reminds me of the quintessential like spying on a locker room movie.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just such a good genre that is so kind of like these Blink songs. It's so tied to its time because it's impossible to like justify it in a way.
No, like you couldn't make those movies anymore, and you shouldn't make those movies anymore. But
and you also truly, because I think about this all the time, like you know how they like subvert tropes from the past by swapping genders or whatever. Like that movie Rough Night theoretically was like, oh, it's girls who accidentally kill a male stripper. That makes it better. Or I mean, obviously it doesn't usually work, but either way, with this trope, you literally can't subvert it because no matter what, you're like spying on someone without their consent, and it sucks.
Yeah, like no matter what, you're committing a crime, like a sex crime, and it's not funny. It's not good. However, a little digression about those movies that I think is important to make is: have you ever seen that movie Sex Drive? So it's the same.
Oh, I've heard of it.
Okay,
but I've never watched it.
So there's like a kind of cool guy video store near where I live in Toronto called Queen Video, and like they literally have like in the window the names of like great directors. Like so, it's literally like Coppola, Kurosawa, fucking. Those are the only two good directors I know. Otherwise, I'm like Spielberg.
You got your Braff.
Like it's all like that's what their window is. That's their bread and butter. They're like it's like a snotty Portlandia skit of a video store. Amazing place, but not somewhere you'd go to say rent a movie like Sex Drive, which I did once, and my only concern was like, oh, I'm gonna end up like forgetting to return this. Something's gonna happen. I just don't want them to know that I rented this. And but like I rented it along with like 2 other real movies or something, and it was just like for a night with pals. Anyway. I returned the movie, but somehow like it didn't get scanned in. So like a couple of weeks later, when I went to go rent, like a real smart movie for educated people, they were like, "Sorry, I can't rent a movie. It's showing that your account is locked because you owe $30 in late fees for a movie called Sex Drive." And I was like, "Right, no, I returned that. It was pretty good." And they didn't buy it, and I never was able to go back.
Damn. So you had to pay $30 of late fees?
Nah, I just left. Cut up the card, just pieced out.
So did they spy? Is there spying in this movie?
I don't really know, but the point is in the spirit of spying, it's like teen sex comedy, like especially that kind of Porky's era, is like such a frivolous and fun type of cinema that centers around a sex crime, I guess.
Oh, totally. And actually, I want you to remember this, and I want you to put this in the back of your... Store it away, just like put it in a little folder, maybe right-click, archive, make it a zip file in your brain.
Okay.
And next week, we're going to open it up again because we've already talked about what song we're doing next week, but there's a very pertinent fact for next week related to these things.
Okay,
so,
okay.
So, little preview. But speaking of movies, I've never seen this movie... but I feel like I fucking need to because the soundtrack is literally incredible. Have you heard of this movie called God Money?
No. I've only ever seen the movie Sex Drive, Josiah.
Right, okay. Well, I just sent you a link to the soundtrack. God Money, 1999.
What
5.2
the fuck?
out of 10. 5.2 out of 10 on IMDb. A streetwise young man tries to leave his sordid past behind him, but his past returns to haunt him when he meets a small-time drug dealer. So it's like... a crime movie, I guess, like in the late 90s. It seems quite shitty, but the soundtrack is unbelievable.
Holy
and so this song was on
yeah.
it. This song was on it, and I think it's the only Blink song on here. There seems to be a lot. I think Tooth and Nail must have had some licensing because there's a lot of Christian bands that I used to love on it, like Living Sacrifice and Slick Shoes. Their song Rusty on here is a really good song. And the song that actually got me into MXPX, Doing Time, is on here. That's like the best song. But I cannot believe this soundtrack. There's also like Pennywise, Descendants, Rollins Band.
DHC, Voodoo Glow Skulls. There's some ska here, which...
Strife.
Yeah, Far. We've talked about Far before. That Sacto sound. 10-Foot Pole.
Like, could you imagine this soundtrack?
Do you know who the singer of 10-Foot Pole was for a while, by the way? It was a man by the name of Scott Radinsky who was a professional baseball player. And in addition to, playing for the Chicago White Sox and I don't know.
Let me guess how long his baseball bat was out there on the field.
But no, he was like part of the Nardcore scene. So he was in like Scared Straight, he was in 10-Foot Pole, and he was in Pulley. But then he was like a pitching coach for the Cleveland baseball team. And I interviewed him once, and it was so tight because I was like, "You're both a punk legend and a pitching coach for a Major League Baseball team." That's all.
Does he like Star Wars?
Yeah, he definitely loves Star Wars and pizza, which was also invented in 1977. Anyway, so we should definitely do a exclusive on God Money for sure.
I know, like this movie, I'd really like to watch it. I remember, this is like another way off aside, but that movie Dead Man on Campus, which kind of fits into this genre.
Dead
of,
Man on
shitty,
Campus, fuck.
But the MXPX song "Doing Time" was in the trailer, and I remember when I was younger, I used to get so excited to hear a song in a movie, and it was in the trailer, and I got so excited, and then it wasn't in the movie, and I was like really pissed.
But this is also an era when like these bands were, I mean, like Descendants was never like an incredibly popular band, but like I feel like Blink for a lot of people is synonymous with the American Pie films. These were,
right.
This was like the sound of teens, and so
again, I'm going to tell you to just go ahead and archive that in your mind and just save it because it's coming.
Okay, great. This is good. Like this is cliffhangers for me. Like listening to the next episode.
I mean, now that might give away the song, but whatever. Who gives a shit?
I mean,
anyways,
no, whatever.
No one listens to the.
We're at least an hour in by now, so people have dropped off.
Yeah. So we're talking about visual aspects of this song. I don't know what the scene was in God Money, obviously, but did you know that there is a sort of a what is that called? The Berenstain Bears, Sinbad.
Sinbad Shazam. I don't know what that is called, but yeah.
Is there a name for that?
There probably is, but like we're not that smart. We need one of our smart guests on, and you know.
It's called. So with the God Money soundtrack, we're sort of like hovering around this song being a visual connection, kind of. Right, like
it's evocative lyrically. Like I can sort of it paints a very vivid picture for the listener.
And like I've never seen God Money, but I would love to know where it's placed in terms of the plot about this young man who does a crime or whatever. I already forget the synopsis. But there's also like the Berenstain Mandela effect sort of thing is all over the message boards because so many people swear to God that they've seen a Voyeur music video that never existed. Yeah, so I think I've given you the here.
Yeah. I've got this link. So
this is I've just copied down some things, but basically there was an MTV show called Rarest Music Videos 1998 or something, and like at least 10 Blink-182 fans swear that they saw like a Voyeur video. Here's what this one guy said. The Voyeur video shows Mark, Tom, and Scott at the girl's house they sing about. In the lyrics, I'd eat her out if she were on my dinner plate. The video shows Tom eating the girl, and he sings about it.
What?
And then it also shows the girl's big brother who showers twice a week.
This guy is the kid who had like the American girlfriend at summer camp. And
I know, but the thing is, like, all these people came in to back up this person. Like, no, it's not a lie. MTV's 1998 Rarest Music Videos. They showed a scene where Tom was eating a girl, and then they showed the big brother. They also showed a scene of the big brother and a scene with Mark sitting in a tree with binoculars. It's been confirmed by a lot of people and also confirmed on Wikipedia.
But again, these are very safe descriptions of a video. No. This video had the things described in the song, the members of the band. It was real as fuck, my dude.
I mean, that's like the argument against it is that there's no way. I mean, their videos are dumb and hokey, especially in this era, but they're never that literal. So
no.
And also, I like that multiple people claim that Tom ate a woman in a video.
Yeah.
Like while he's singing, he's just like I can almost close my eyes and picture like a very 90s, like a sort of like nuclear family, like Leave It to Beaver style kitchenette area. And he just has like a knife and fork and a big bib. And he's like mowing down on some lady.
I'm picturing it much more like the sort of psychedelic portions of the Black Hole Sun video where he's playing, but he's like his mouth is growing really wide. And then like a woman just sort of slips right in and he chews.
Well, for a third account, this one's kind of a double account. This person said, me and my friend both saw it. We were on the phone and my friend told me he was watching MTV too. So he told me to turn it there. I did. And the second most rarest video was Voyeur by Blink-182.
These people all believe in ghosts, and they all think that Blink played online songs on 9/11.
Right. I mean, I think that these people are full of shit too, but then you just got to think like what kind of, you can spend like probably, I would say, a good 72 hours straight watching archival Blink-182 footage on YouTube. Not that I've done that or do that every weekend.
No, yeah.
But you got to think, like, what's the stuff that wasn't saved? Like MTV 1998 is probably on some, like, what are those weird tapes that TV stations used to use? Probably sitting somewhere. Maybe it did exist.
Well, we've talked about Astent previously on this podcast. Did we talk about it last week or did we talk about it offline? I actually can't even remember because, like,
honestly, I also am starting to forget what stories I've shared on this pod and haven't, and like everything is just a blur.
Right. So like, you know, Astent is an ad made by like a person that I work with that it didn't air because it was supposed to air on 9/11, a Blink ad for that era of the band for the record. And like, that's real. Like, Astent is real. If someone on Reddit, you know, prior to us starting this podcast said, actually, Blink have an ad called Astent and it didn't air because of 9/11, but it's real and I've seen it, I would have been like, right. This person is an online songs truther as well. But you know what? Maybe like Astent is sort of like getting red pilled a little bit. And now I'm just seeing the world totally differently.
Well, yeah, like theoretically, so the singles from Dude Rancher you've established, Apple Shampoo was number one, kind of a weird choice. Mm-hmm. Then Damn It, and then Dick Lips, and then Josie. So Josie came out in November of 1998 as a single. So if they were going to do Voyeur as a single, they would have done it before then. So I guess I could see them trying to pick between Dick Lips and Voyeur as a single, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, maybe for the Canadian market that already loved Gob, it would have made sense. Kids in Abbotsford would have freaked.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know.
I feel like it, especially for the 90s, it might have been well, maybe not. Maybe it's the perfect amount of risque to be a hit song.
Well, someone made a joke on Twitter today, and like, forgive me, I don't remember who it was. It ended up in my feed, and it was like, just that how hilarious it is that there are videos that cost $250,000 in the peak of, you know, like music videos being a thing. And now they're just all on YouTube at 240 p. Like, they're just garbage quality videos that at some point cost all of the money in the world and had multiple helicopters and were like these just lavish and expensive productions. And it's easy for those things to just disappear. And you know, maybe in an era before everything was sort of effectively archived digitally, there's a video, there's something that happened. Like, when I worked at MTV for a brief period of time, we were in the same building that like Much Music broadcast out of when we were kids. And the lone part of that building that's long since been taken over by like a large media conglomerate that sort of retains the spirit that Much kind of had back in the day when we were kids is the tape library, which is like all staffed by these like rad punk ladies that like from my age to like 50. And it's like where the Power Hour was shot, and the walls are still all spray painted with like the Power Hour graffiti, and it just like feels like you've like time warped. And they have a whole section of band videos, and some of them are the obvious ones that like we remember, but it's literally a case of things that they received and ultimately could not or decided not to air. And I was in the process of trying to work on a special about all those videos right before I ended up leaving. But there are genuinely forgotten cultural relics from a time that kind of predates comprehensive digital archiving. And you know what? Maybe I believe these people after shitting on them for a couple minutes there.
It's really hard to know. And it's like, I mean, everything's gotten fucked up this week, and I've been doing research for a bunch of songs at once. But one of these, there's multiple Blink songs that have like people swear they saw videos of that. There was apparently half-shot videos that were abandoned, and I think it was this one that they were like, no, we never did that. I think they like have officially said that they didn't do it, but I also believe it's so interesting when that happens because the Shazam, Kazam, Sinbad thing. I also in my subconscious I've always pictured Sinbad the comedian as being like a genie, like my whole life.
So you're one of these people, like you have participated in the sort of like. The false memory myth.
Definitely. Oh, yeah. Like, I think it just happens naturally. So I definitely kind of believe people, and I do think that there were also, like, original content on TV was a little bit more interesting back then in the sense that, like, you never knew what was going to happen, or like, you know, when people actually watched these like chat shows on music stations.
Yeah.
People would stop by, or something fun would happen, or like someone would end up being in the audience. Actually, to mention Sundance again, because I was just there, I saw the MIA documentary about the musician MIA, who like, I was kind of like, I mean, I've always like enjoyed her music, but I never really cared that much. But that documentary is amazing and makes you really respect and appreciate her a lot as both an artist and an activist. But I noticed when it was like documenting her rise to fame in North America, basically every single interview was with Much Music or a Canadian media company. And I thought that was really, I like felt proud because Canada actually sometimes did take risks that maybe Americans didn't, because I don't know if it's because of like payola structures or what, but she was just constantly on Canadian TV. So there's like tons of Much in it. There's unfortunately a Jian Ghomeshi interview as well, but she says good stuff in it.
Right. How did that make it into the movie though? That's because I feel like that you just can't use those things anymore. Like I was a part of a production recently where there was a clip that was sort of the same thing. It was a good clip of an artist, but I mean, maybe they're assuming that an international audience won't recoil in the same way, but like, you can't fucking put that man on television. Like,
I know.
It's insane. But
it's in the MIA doc.
Yeah, well, but it is true. I mean, I think like Canadian media, but in particular, like Much was a pretty sort of special thing back then. I mean, I remember like, you know, one of the first times I ever saw a No Use for a Name video was because it wasn't even like on the Wedge or any of the like particular sort of like punk or metal ghettos that they kind of created that were late at night, but it was like late night video flow, and they were just like hanging out. Like they were just straight up like in the environment. And you're like, this is live. Like, this is actually happening. Their show's done, and they came there to do probably a pre-taped interview for The Wedge, and then they just hung out on the live show, you know, at midnight, and they ended up playing Soulmate. And I was like, this band is sick. You're like,
I think that's the thing in this day and age of content. That's what's missing, is like the element of sort of the unexpected, right? Like, as someone who still has cable, it's way more fun to like turn on TV and see what movie is halfway through that you can tune in on, which spying on a locker room scene you can catch.
Yeah.
Instead of like opening a program and picking a curated playlist that's like using your soul to figure out what you like. It's fun to just like turn on TV and never know what's going on. I think that's why people like Twitch and stuff too. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Canadian media, pretty cool. I shit on everyone in Canadian media all the time and Canadian music, and I'm still right, but there's still something. There's a seed of something cool there.
Yeah, you're getting soft in your old age, my man.
I know. Okay, actually, wow, the segues are happening so easily.
You can't point them out though; then they're not good.
So, Sam, we've talked about Canadian TV embracing new artists. Did you know that Australian TV was also very kind to Blink-182?
I did not know that, Josiah. That's very interesting.
Yeah, just edit out the part that wasn't a segue.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen these videos, but like when around the time of Damn It and I think Cheshire Cat, like they kept appearing on this Australian TV show called Recovery. And I guess they went, according to this interviewer guy, they went to Australia 5 times in their first 5 years as a band.
Really?
So, I mean, I've noticed even, like, we've not tried to market to Australians, but Australians seem to love our pod, too. So I don't know what it is. Like, is Australia the most pop-punk country? Is it a country? I don't even know.
It is. Australia is the most pop-punk prison colony. Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
This video is sick. Look how cool they look.
They're so cool. There's so many cool videos of it. And they've built this like elaborate set with the sort of Blink-182 like cowboy logo. It's so cool.
Yeah.
And they're dressed so cool. And there's like tons of interview footage with this like edgy sort of like eyebrow ring ass guy. I don't know if you go to the middle, you can kind of see it.
I'm too distracted by like not even believing that this is Mark in this video. Like from afar, it looks like kind of looks like Billy Joe Armstrong or something.
Well, at the start of that one, he's wearing a wig.
Oh, that explains that a lot.
Yeah,
I was but when did he have that hair?
But yeah. So let's hear them play Voyeur. They played everything on this. They were constantly on the show, and the footage all looks so cool.
Sick.
It's the greatest. So here's them playing Voyeur.
And Blink-182 will be taking us out with a song off Dude Ranch called Voyeur. Thanks very much for watching. Farewell, our videos are just ciao. Blink-182, goodbye.
And when the day ends, I'm sure she feels sorrow. That lonely guy I am, I like to watch her change. I'm here today, I'll sure be here tomorrow. I'm here, I might have played. I wish she'd be more cut out. Why not a fun, cause what, take our walk down. I've seen everything there is to be shown. I brought her all the way home.
Oh my God.
It's so cool.
Listening to that-
everything about it is so good.
Listening to that makes me feel like not dumb for having this podcast. When we're doing Los Angeles or whatever, like I'm like, why do what disease of the brain caused me to be drawn to this band and this music? And then you listen to that and you're like, oh right, like that was so sick.
It's so good, and it's like so sloppy in such a good way. And I compared them to Beat Happening earlier with that clean guitar, but I actually am curious if, like, how do I put this? The way that production has gone and the way that everyone has embraced like big pop production style, and everyone has embraced using triggers and playing to tracks and stuff. I think that maybe Blink-182 was the last band that was this sloppy on TV and like openly sloppy and fine with it.
Maybe,
and I think that it's really cool that they're like this, because in this video it's like sloppy but in an incredibly charming way where you're like, you just love them immediately.
Yeah, I mean, also Tom's voice is so good here. Like it sounds nutty and like it's obvious that he's just trying to find a way to sing, like that he's not a natural singer, but it's totally working. And the way that he fucks around with the timing, I actually kind of like it better than when it's recorded. Like he's like syncopating it or whatever a little bit. Like at multiple points, he's sort of going off the beat, and it sounds so good.
Well, they and the like it's the visual element. I'm sorry to bring it up again, but like the way that Mark's dancing around it, it's like they all seem to be having so much fun and like they want to sabotage their own set, but in such a playful way. I guess maybe a rock band like the Strokes was a little bit sloppy, but they're so like tight. I truly don't think that like I think all rock music has been so slick for the last 10 or 15 years. I can't think of another band that has this much like rawness on TV.
Well, I mean,
it's so cool.
Essentially what you're saying is that no one was this bad, and I think that that's totally a fair statement.
Yeah, but I honestly think that like the reason that I've grown up, like I grew up listening to like Built to Spill and all that kind of shit and like K Record stuff, and what I love about that kind of stuff is the dichotomy of being bad but also being really good. Like it's like a special kind of sloppiness that only few can achieve, and I think that this era of Blink really achieved it. And I think actually the reason is Scott, because he's keeping it all together by just playing stupid, straightforward beats.
Yeah, absolutely. This makes me miss Scott. Like just hearing the beginning of the song where you're like, Travis could not play this dumb. Like I don't even mean in like a classic like Travis overplay scenario. I mean like he's incapable of just dumbing himself down to this level.
Yeah, but also, and then we've talked about when you watch live videos of Scott, he's like such a machine. He's just like he looks like a caveman. He's just like beating the drums like so simply, but like aggressively and perfectly. But this is a song that a lot of people say they like on the Mark, Tom, and Travis show. But let's listen to what it sounds like when Travis plays it.
Okay.
And when the day ends, I'm sure she feels sorrow. The lonely guy I am, I'd like to watch her change. I've been here 2 days, I'll sure be here tomorrow. I'd hear all if she were on my dinner plate. And I wish she'd be more kind now. I'm out of luck.
Yeah.
Too much.
Just like it's not the same. It also sort of like sounds like a Violent Femme song the way that they play it, like with the more
with the shuffle kind of.
Yeah, like it's and look, I'm just not a fan. Nothing against him, but like not my band. So
Yeah, there's a lot of people a lot of people I respect seem to really like Violent Femmes, and I don't really get it either.
yeah, like I like the one song that's in the movie. That's a real soundtrack type song, right? It was on the first Frosh comp.
The only Violent Femmes song I really love is their song on the Saturday morning cartoon compilation.
Oh, what did they do?
They do Eep Op Ork Ah Ah means I love you.
Okay.
I don't even know what it's from, but it's that one. I feel like no one ever talks to me about that compilation. Did you ever have that compilation?
Yeah, I remember. Like, actually, to be totally honest, I don't think I had it. I think I had a friend who had the tape, but we like listened to it all the time. Like that thing was sick. That was the one that had because that had the Ramones Spider-Man on it, right?
Yeah, totally. And Face to Face doing Popeye.
Yeah.
But the greatest was the band. Maybe this is because I'm getting old, but I'm really obsessed with like lost alternative rock, sort of punky, but like power pop bands from the late 90s that are just forgotten by time. Like bands that sound like Third Eye Blind but aren't.
Right. I like that you're wondering if that's because you're old. Like as if there's that's literally the oldest thing you've ever said.
It's true. But I also I've started listening to another show, which is Ezra Koenig's Time Crisis on Apple Music. Mm-hmm. And in one of the episodes, he was talking about how he's obsessed with that same era too. So I was wondering if it was like a season coming up as well.
Oh, that's interesting.
But it must just be because I'm old. But
yeah, you and Ezra.
A perfect example of that kind of band is Wax, who I've never heard of before or after. But they're sort of like super chunky.
Yeah.
And they're on Saturday morning compilation, and they play in Biodome, my favorite movie of all time.
Sick.
Biodome.
Yeah.
I don't know, just a little aside, but Violent Femmes, other than that song, I can't get into it.
There is a Violent Femmes song that I like, and it's "I Held Her in My Arms," but I only like the Alkaline Trio cover of it. So,
wrong pod. Yeah, I think you're totally right though. It's when Travis overplays it, it stops being a stupid caveman beat, and then it has this like shuffling cowpunk feeling.
Yeah,
and he did the same. It was the same thing we noticed in the Dick Lips episode actually, because as soon as you start playing these songs too hard, then the listener is like, oh, I should take this song more seriously. And then this stupidity of the lyrics lose their like beauty because it's being dressed up too much.
Yeah, you really put the onus of interpretation on the listener, and on us with a song like this, that's simply not fair. I want to know it's dumb because it's dumb.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm putting the onus on the drummer, actually.
Okay, that's fair. I believe that's the name of one of Travis's like hip hop EPs, right? It's like
put the onus on the drummer.
Give the drummer some. Put the onus on the drummer.
He doesn't know the word onus.
Yeah,
I barely know that word.
So you're saying that's not in his? It wasn't in his book?
I feel like I need to actually reread the book entirely, start to finish.
So hold on, you've only read 2 books, but the third book you read is just going to be the Travis Barker.
Going to be that one again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of books, I was cleaning up my hard drive, and I found my failed 33 1/3 submission on Dude Ranch.
Oh shit!
And so it's
you should publish it on the Patreon. That should be exclusive.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe we should do that, and it's not just because of us for self-indulgent wanky reasons, although that's also part of it, obviously.
Yeah, this podcast is definitely not doesn't exist for self-indulgent wanky reasons. It's a real service we're providing.
So I quickly looked through it, and the most hilarious thing, like I never made this connection in my head, but reading through, like there's like a lengthy intro, and then there's little chapter breakdowns for what each chapter would have been. And honestly, it's like pretty much it's like the pod laid out on a PDF. Like it's fully the pod.
Hold on, so
it's totally like
so it's like chapter 2, identity politics. Chapter 3, Sam's feelings about Matt Skiba. Chapter 8, and this was obviously before Matt Skiba had joined Blink that you would have submitted this, so that was quite prescient of you.
Yeah, there was. I think because there's a section where you have to like argue why it would be worth selling or whatever, and I think I said like, oh, they're about to get back together and work on a new album, so it would be a perfect time. And then Tom quit, so yeah, but it kind of
is that why you didn't get to make this book? Yeah, are you blaming Tom
probably. I am blaming Tom.
It's fucked up.
No, I think it's a little bit too self-indulgent to have been a book, but it's great for a podcast.
But okay, so is that that'll be up on the Patreon now? So if you are,
Yeah, I just gotta like black out a couple things like my phone number and stuff because some of these people who listen are a little too obsessed.
I think that if people are giving us $5 a month, they deserve your phone number. Josiah.
they deserve my phone number and address.
Haven't you? You've moved recently. That's not your current address.
Yeah, that's true, but my phone number hasn't changed.
Yeah, but I don't think that's unreasonable.
I don't know. People have already been like DMing me, asking me to check out their bands and stuff, like through the pod account. So
Yeah,
like,
man. Like, welcome to being like a person with some clout on the internet.
Yeah, I don't like it. I want to go back. I want to go back to being a lurker.
No, man. You're now the lurkee. You've gone through the looking glass, my friend.
Yeah. So. I've done so many segues and now I have none left.
So do you want to just
spent?
go into covers?
Sure, why not?
Wait, you seem like really uncertain. Did you want me to offer you something else in that moment? I mean, I felt like that was my job.
I want you to like drop like a big smoking gun that you've been hiding the whole time.
Okay, well, here's the story. I relate to this song because I actually used to peep on Wife of the Pod, Ashley, and that's ultimately how we fell in love. I fell out of a tree, and then like a stranger saved me from being hit by a car. And initially, Ashley fell in love with him, but then I interrupted her, almost being assaulted by the bully of our school, and then we got together, but we ultimately, Ashley is also pregnant, and we are naming our firstborn child after this stranger.
You know, that's the problem with these kinds of joke songs is that they often give the moral that sex crimes do work and that you can trick the girl into falling for you. So thanks for perpetuating that on the pod.
Yep, that's what I'm here for, man, is to sort of like talk the talk but not walk the walk of progressive politics. That's the motto of Blink 55.
Before we actually get to covers, I did just remember something that's going to make you really mad. Maybe I'll actually share this YouTube on our socials when it comes out because it's not even the kind of thing I can capture or like. This is easily the worst video I've ever seen.
So, you know what's funny? I was just thinking to myself, like, I feel like I'm really enjoying the pod this week. And a lot of it is, like, we've had a really fun couple of days, like, online. And I've said this before, but, like, if you are a listener to the pod, and I feel like we do have many more downloads than we have followers on social. And this is not me saying, like, follow us, because, like, I don't care about the number. I care about you, the listener, and I think you're missing out on some gold. So we have had a great couple of days on socials with Bill, with other sort of comings and goings.
Like literally, here's an example. At the start of the taping of this pod, Bill Billingsley tweeted at me, "Go shit your pants, Josiah," and I retweeted it from my personal account. And while I've been talking to you, people have been messaging me, being like, "Who is this guy? What's going on? Why is this guy saying this to you?" Yeah. So you're really missing out on the full experience. It's like that show Mosaic that just aired on HBO. Steven Soderbergh spent $20 million so that you can have an app where you could pick what order you watch each character in. It's like a murder mystery.
Oh.
But in Canada, the app was geo-blocked, so we couldn't get the app. So we just had to watch like the normie version, and there's this cult subplot that you can't figure out.
What the fuck?
But what I'm saying is we're basically Steven Soderbergh here because we have like a full interactive thing going on.
Yes, I could not agree more. And all of which is to say, I thought maybe it was like that energy that was causing me to like particularly enjoy recording the pod this week. And then I realized it's because you hadn't done anything like this. And I don't know what you're about to share with me, but this is the part of the podcast where we've already been recording for 90 minutes. I've had a great time, but I'm starting to run out of steam. And you share like 10 covers in a row of just like, oh, these are some nice boys in their garage. And like, they all sound the fucking same. And by the end of it, I'm like, why do we do this? Like, what's happening? So just as I felt like, you know, I was reaching that point, you've dropped a video that you describe as the worst thing you've ever found. Is this what you're saying?
I mean, I might be hyperbolic right now because I've found some pretty horrible things. And there's horrible things coming up in the next couple of weeks. But this is bad in the sense that it's so frustratingly mediocre and hard to explain. that it's just, and it also has 12,000 views. And you know what? The audio of this, I'm going to play it for a second. I can't remember. But yeah, I'm just going to play this. You can go ahead and take a look at the video and we can talk about it after.
Okay.
And when the day ends, I'm sure she feels sorrow. The lonely guy I am, I wait for her to change. I've been here 2 days, I'll sure be here tomorrow.
Okay, so the audio is just like the song. And then
Yeah.
the accompanying video is just, when was this upload? 2007. So I'm guessing they wanted this song on YouTube and they didn't know how to do it yet. Because think about 2007, how hard that would have been.
Yeah,
to,
I wouldn't have known how, yeah.
So I think what this person has done is just play it on their CD player and then just film the corner of their leg on their bed. Like, this is a video of a stationary person sitting on a gray bed sheet.
Josiah,
You can
a
see there's some
podcast
movement.
is an
If you
audio
skip around.
medium. It's an audio medium.
There's like just atmospheric flickering as if the light isn't bright enough.
And even
And then
if this was a visual medium, this video is just a bed sheet.
Well, no, there's a little bit of, you can see a toe at the 2:38 mark. You can see a toe in the bottom right corner, I believe. Is that a toe?
I don't know, man. I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah, there's feet at the start too. Show feet, sweetie.
Who's it? Piers Morgan loves feet, right?
Yeah. What makes this video even worse and better though is that it has 12,000 views.
Yeah, like this video is more successful than this podcast. It's because, you know what? Because we never show our feet, Josiah. That's the problem.
Yeah, we should start showing our feet.
So we're gonna add a tier to the Patreon where we've got the $5. You get the exclusives, $10. You're on the board of the pod. We have not really allowed you to tap into any of the perks that are supposed to go along with that. We'll get on that. Let's maybe like $12 is the tier where we will show feet. Yeah.
I'll do a video. I'll recreate this video if you do that.
Okay.
I'll show you my bed sheet. I'll film it in square aspect ratio, which is very hip right now, I've noticed.
Yeah, no.
A lot of people are doing that. This video is actually very hip. Most people don't realize most of these 12,000 people didn't realize just how influential this video of a gray bed sheet would be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, this is very proto-naltro.
So what do you think of it?
I just like... I think it's great. I think it's great. I think it's so great. I think it's so great, Josiah. I'm so happy that you shared it with me. Do you want to do covers
Honestly,
now?
The weird thing about this song is that there's not that many good covers. Like, it's one where people love to do acoustic versions, and they love to do bad music videos like the one I just showed you. So I wish I could tell you that I found a lot of really good covers, but I found a couple. Okay,
to be honest, that's what I wish you would say every week, so that's fine.
I'm trying to think. I'll start with. Let's see. How should I do this? The chef is at work here.
Oh, Chef Josiah in the kitchen.
Okay, let's start with this one. I wrote weird and bad acoustic. That was my note.
I want you to always say what your notes are because the idea that this is how you're going to remember it.
Well, sometimes I just write "what the fuck," and then when we start recording, I don't know what it is, but I know I should click it.
Yeah.
This one is like, once again, there's like a really fucked up music video to go with it. It's by Scytheman 140. So like, is that how you say that word?
Scythe. Yeah.
Is that like a sword?
Yeah, like the Grim Reaper has a scythe.
Oh, well, that makes sense because he's dressed as the Grim Reaper. So he says the accompanying video is random clips he found from somewhere. I don't know, like, what does that mean?
Oh, so they're trying to do like a Blair Witch
footage?
Yeah,
right, a very Jason Blum sort of thing. But this is from 2010, so again, these Blink fans are really ahead of the trend, or at least on trend.
I mean,
so let's.
Sorry, I've skipped ahead in this video, and see, like, if you would just share stuff like this with me, this podcast would be fine. Anyway.
Well, anyways, let's hear it.
Okay.
When the day ends, I'm sure she'd feel sorrow. The lonely guy I am, I wait for her to change.
I mean, you got to put that video up on like the socials because as a cover, I was barely paying attention. I was truly trying to decipher the meaning of the visuals here. So it opens with like it's like in the woods kind of, and there's a dog and there's a guy dressed kind of as the Grim Reaper. And then it cuts to like some kids at like a Warped Tour type show. And then there's honestly what appears to be actual found footage. And then it comes back to more of this Grim Reaper thing. And the whole thing sort of has the effect of those Elsagate videos, right? Where like behind the Grim Reaper is a guy with a bag on his head and a bra over a t-shirt. Like, the whole thing is actually very upsetting.
Yeah, did you see what's going on at like the 2-minute mark? There's like it almost looks like a terror attack or something. There's like smoking bombs flying over some sort of building.
Yeah, this is too weird, man.
But it is especially weird with that like absolutely incoherent acoustic cover over top.
Yeah, and there's a kid like shaking and falling downstairs with gloves on. And there's a guy doing parkour. Like it's
I'm lined up perfectly to everything you say happens right when you say it. It's so good right now.
Oh, yeah. So, see, this is great. Like, more of this, Josiah, please.
I mean, there's really not much difference between this and the video of the gray bed sheet.
You're right.
Stationary.
Yeah, sure. There's no difference.
Okay, well, actually, we're off to a good start. This is pretty good.
Yeah.
This girl, I was excited because she has 182 in her username. It's Donna Hoppus, and the video's titled "Oh Hi Voyeur," 44 views. So I thought, oh, this will be interesting. But it appears that she's done a real life Nitecore cover because it's all sped up in chipmunk voices and the colors go crazy. So I don't know, and she's listed it as comedy. So I guess this is her idea of a joke.
Okay. I love to joke.
I don't know. I mean, do you?
No,
At
this is
point?
Look at, I love to do long form improv, like 50, 60 hours of long form improv. That is how I want to spend my precious time on earth.
Here we go.
Okay. Love it. That's great.
But like, do you think she did that on purpose, or did she fuck up the upload somehow?
Oh, it almost doesn't matter to me. I think whether it's like, purposeful outsider art or like kind of like genuine, like is it Jan Deck or is it Daniel Johnston? I don't really care. Like, I'm good. I thought that was a very special auditory and visual experience.
This is really this week is all about the onus of interpretation.
That is interesting.
I knew that we were onto something.
Yeah, this is all because last week's episode ended on a kind of intelligent note. That we've attempted to sort of carry that through this week.
Right. That's why I showed you that. Actually, the reason I showed you that gray bedsheet one is because I think the way to bullshit your way through modern art is to just always say that everything plays with space. Like, that's what every artist always says. It really challenges our perceptions of space.
Well, and I think you could argue in many ways that by consistently producing, 90-minute, 2-hour plus podcast episodes about individual Blink-182 songs, we are challenging the idea of space. Time and space,
like gigabytes.
Yeah, like space on our Libsyn account, space on the hard drive of your phone.
I'd like to introduce you to, drumroll, Chris the Skate Guru.
Yes.
I clicked this one because of the description. So again, there's so many shitty acoustic covers or just like guitar covers or normie band covers. But this is Chris the Skate Guru. And I saw the caption. I was like, I got to click through because he wrote, "Just fucking around with my Brougham. Vid cut off and I fucked up a lot. I was tired, LOL. I kept having brain farts. But yeah, it was for fun."
Yes.
Chris the Skate Guru. And what year is this here? 2012. Ooh. I was thinking that it would have been more like 2009 or something. Chris the Skate Guru has a very late Warped Tour emo look.
Yeah, I am surprised to find that this video is that recent, but...
Yeah. Okay, well, let's hear how Chris the Skate Guru does.
Yeah, it's recording.
Okay, you ready, homo?
My nipples. Sorry, that wasn't me. Okay.
Yeah, when the day ends, I'm sure she feels sorrow. The lonely guy I am, I wait for her to change. I've been here 2 days, I'll sure be here tomorrow. My lady's so sweet, she likes to entertain. Yeah, and I wish she'd be more kind now. Not fun, cause the shades are pulled down.
That's Chris the Skate Guru.
Is he like, he looks too young to be a guru? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know that I would sort of follow this man's skate advice. But
He does have some skate videos, but they're uploaded sideways. So I don't know. That's not a very guru-y move.
also, like, his videos mostly look like they're ollies or whatever.
He has covered a Never Shout Never song. I know we've mentioned that.
Oh, shoeless motherfucker! Oh, he did.
Yeah.
There Is by Boxcar Racer. So we can you know.
Oh yeah. Hopefully we remember.
Come back to him. You know, like, this falls under the category of, like, why does everything need to go on the internet? The nipple stuff. He touches his nipples like a lot in the video. That part's weird.
There's a lot of false starts.
Yeah.
It's, again, a very easy song that we've been characterizing as a stupid, idiotic caveman song this whole time. And yet they still managed to fuck it up quite a bit.
Yeah, like, is this Brougham off camera playing guitar? Is that?
It must have been his Brougham, because there's some real live guitar going on.
I want to bring back Brougham. It feels good to say, doesn't it?
It kind of does.
Josiah's my Brougham. We got a podcast together.
What's
Just two
the etymology
Broughams
of
talking
that?
about Blink
But you
152.
it's the kind of thing you got to check the etymology.
Ooh,
is
it's
it
true, yeah.
Does it do with Abraham? Is it an anti-Semitic saying or something?
I don't. Epistemology. Brougham meaning. I don't know. I don't think
Close
it's
buddy,
anti-Semitic.
compadre, smoking and drinking buddy, a term of endearment between men to reaffirm heterosexuality.
Oh, well.
So it's
Oh,
sort
so
of
it's like a
no
pause?
homo. It's like a no homo term.
Oh, I see. I don't like that. I am seeing a definition that says that it's an Irish slang for a brother or friend made popular by the Irish mob. And they're saying that it's pronounced Brougham, which
Which is And
brings us
actually,
right back to
because-
God. What was it? God City Maniacs.
God money.
God money.
There's also tons of around this era. I was looking at old videos that weren't as important to bring up as the bed sheet, but there's tons of old videos of Blink on tour with Pennywise when this happened. And there's like Mark like singing Brougham. So
Sick.
it's the Brougham episode.
Can you imagine
So
singing Brougham with Pennywise?
I have always hated that song.
No,
And I hate
everyone likes
Pennywise.
Brougham.
This actually reminds me of, you were talking about your Hot Water Music Show, and then I saw you retweeted like a very woke take on the Hot Water Music Show. I don't know if you want to bring that up or not, but it was like sort of you were forced to face the masculinity of your brothers in arms bro him.
Yeah, I mean, Broham's a pretty broy him. No, there was just someone's take on Twitter about how that show in general kind of reminded them of what they felt sort of how they felt alienated from punk, because it was like a bill with like every band was all white dudes and the crowd was like all like mostly white dudes, and that can be sort of really alienating even when people are really, really nice to you, like that no one was being like, everyone was being kind, but it's still like a weird way to operate in a space if you're a person of color. And you know, I've always thought that there was curious about certain sects of punk. I think like DIY punk, and I think hardcore, and I think there's punk scenes that are maybe much more inclusive, and I've never really thought too hard about the reasons for that, but that kind of like festy punk that I've always been particularly drawn to in my life, in which like has these like very surface themes of like unity and like inclusion, tends to be incredibly homogenous. And I've always thought that was a little weird. And like we actually spent, after the show, was at a bar with wife of the pod, sister of the pod, and future husband-in-law, brother-in-law of the pod. And we were like really trying to actually have a conversation about this, and like none of us were really in any sort of like shape to like articulate it. But it's like, yeah, there's like a weird like masculine energy that goes along with those bands and those shows, like a sort of like stereotypical masculine energy. You know, like there's a reason why Hot Water Music is named after like a Bukowski collection. So I don't know. That's it. I don't have a fully formed thought on it, but since you put me on the spot, that's what that was sort of something I had been thinking about at that show, and something that has sort of always been like a weird facet, I think, of that culture. And now you just asked me to discuss it on the podcast for reasons.
Well, it is because you said Brougham. I thought of Brougham,
Right.
And then I thought it is an interesting and important conversation to have in general, though, because it's like annoying when these things. You know, I mean, pretty much all of punk is like double speak, isn't it? Like they're saying one thing and then they're doing something else.
Yeah, that's true. All the straight edge kids are drunk as fuck. Like,
or actually, well, today there was a massive upset because the guitarist of Expire, this like bro-y hardcore band, has allegedly just been like sexually assaulting people on tour every stop of the way for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And finally came out and like, you know, and then the band releases a statement that's like, we've always prided ourselves on like believing women and all, you know, it's just all like, it's all not as easy as releasing a statement or doing the right lyrics.
yeah, I mean,
And that's a good commentary to have on an episode about voyeurism.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny.
we literally spent this entire episode being like, yo, this song's sick, and like movies where people commit sex crimes are funny. But seriously, folks, we've had some laughs
no,
this
but actually,
episode.
honestly, that's the kind of, you know, what I've seen people write online is like the most dangerous person is like a self-proclaimed male feminist or along those lines, like people who are like broadcasting too much, trying to project what they're like and how good of a person they are. That's sometimes sketchier than just like when it's like a song like this where it's just so stupid. That's maybe less dangerous than the songs where it's like where Tom's being the protagonist that we should feel sorry for.
I actually think that's a kind of a fair take. I mean, you'd prefer to live in a world where like it wasn't an either or, but you know, from my position in the world as a, you know, straight cis white man, that like scans to me. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's tough days, you know. But I mean, that's like, you know, but it's not a problem that's limited to punk, right? Like we are recording this the day after the Grammys, and a conversation that I've had several times today, and that I think people were having online in the wake of like the Kesha performance, which was like, I personally found, and I feel like you're going to shit on me, but like I found it to be extremely powerful. Like I love the Kesha record. I think that song's fucking great.
No, I really loved it. I love that song too.
Yeah,
I think it was really good.
And it was like a remarkable performance. But like, you feel like the Grammys doing that, and you get, you know, Jean Monnet to give this like stirring introduction to it, and they're patting themselves on the back in the. You know, at the same time, you're not giving Lorde an opportunity to perform, even though every other male nominee for Album of the Year gets to perform. You have the president of whatever bullshit fucking organization runs the Grammys saying that women need to do better or whatever if they want to be included. Meanwhile, you have U2 play twice. And Sony, the record label that releases Kesha's records, is tweeting about how proud they are of her. Oh, chills. When that label is still involved in a lawsuit where Kesha is attempting to stop having to pay her abuser like money and be tied to him legally. Like it's all a fucking play. Like it's all a facade
performance.
And so it's like it's Sony, it's the fucking Grammys, it's this fucking hardcore band. It's like it's all of it. It's all bullshit.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why it's better just to laugh at everything.
Yeah. How are you going to segue out of that one, man?
Well, actually, I do have one more cover.
Yes, good.
And this is really funny. Sometimes when I'm trying to find a normal band cover, like, you know, I want to find like the Scrams one or whatever to make you mad. So I'll search on Bandcamp, but you have to like Google because Bandcamp doesn't really work that well. So I search Blink-182 Voyeur Bandcamp, and the first result is my own band, and I forgot that I uploaded this.
Yes.
But when we were going on tour with my old band Grown Ups, we quickly shat out a bunch of covers in our old basement. and we put them on the backside of a tape with our album Stopped Caring, which the tape version ironically had Woody Allen on the cover because I was like too dumb about that back then. I didn't really consider what that was like to like Woody Allen. But so we covered like, actually this also ties into Up the Academy. There's this power pop band called Blow Up that's on it. Blow Up. They have a song called Kicking Up a Fuss that we covered. And then we covered Japanther and Beat Happening. And then we covered Voyeur. And I totally forgot that we had recorded this.
This is
So
this is amazing.
it's all tied together. But yeah, so this is our old bass player, Andrew, singing it. And yeah, I'll play you a little bit of it, and then I guess we'll talk about it.
So wait, what are you playing on this?
I think because we did a Tubby Dog in Calgary, which is like the best punk venue here. They always do like cover shows on Halloween, and one year we did Dude Ranch. And I think I was Mark, and then Andrew. Like I played guitar in the band and sang, but for the Blink-182 one, I was Mark, so I played bass and sang the Mark parts, and then Andrew was Tom and did the guitar and singing.
My God.
So we switched it, but the cover set was so good, and like everyone loved it. So then we decided to do it again a different time, and then like it just wasn't. It was terrible. You can't do that kind of thing twice sometimes.
Yeah,
you know?
that's fair. You could never go home again.
Yeah. So here we go.
And when the day ends, I'm sure she feels sorrow. The lonely guy I am, I wait for her to change. I've been here 2 days, I'll sure be here tomorrow. I need her off this shoe where all my different ways. And I wish she'd be more kind now. I'm out of
It's very sloppy and slow.
You guys are having some trouble with that like descending kind of scale that goes into the full verse, eh?
Yeah. I think
Boo, boo,
we
boo,
did.
boo. Like it was.
This is just like one take to pad out the tape.
Oh my God.
I can't say I'm really into it, but I also think it's quite slow. But it does sort of add to the stupid caveman version of it.
Yeah, it being slower is like dumber actually, and so I'm into it. Like you
I
should
don't
just
know.
slow
I mean,
it right down, make it like a torch song, like a weed eater song or something.
I feel like it's like not a very good introduction to my own musical output, but I also think I had to play it. I mean, it popped up. Like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, because we've talked a lot about prenup. We've talked about junior battles, and the first time that we've ever played one of our bands on this podcast is your cover of Voyeur.
And it's horrible.
Also,
but-
that really speaks to your sort of approach to the pod, which is like, it showed up. What was I supposed to do? Like, if
Exactly,
you
like,
find something,
literally-
it goes on the pod.
like regardless of the quality, whatever it is, it has to go on. So I even apply those rules to myself.
Yeah. I think that's fair. So, I mean, I don't know that we're going to find anything better than that. Like, that is a beautiful treat to have uncovered.
Yeah.
Josiah, what are your final thoughts on Voyeur?
I
By
think
Blink-182, just in case. Yeah.
I still really love it, and I feel like this is always my final thought, but it's really hard to capture what Tom is able to do with his own songs. And even when Travis was added onto it, it turned into like a country punk song. So it got kind of gross. I think it's really awesome and the right level of stupid to justify its own existence.
Yeah, I think that's totally reasonable. I think to go back to the serious conversation that we were having before, I just wanted the sort of like tweet that I was mentioning was Ruhi Doogie, just like lest I not give someone credit for their thought.
Right.
But now to move on to things that really matter, Voyeur, the song, and not the low-key
Not the
racism
person.
of punk rock. This song rips. Listening to that live version in Australia reminded me why we do the pod. When you started playing videos of people's bed sheets, it reminded me why I hate the pod. And so I'm kind of ending up in the same place where I started, like just fully 50-50, just floating in space. Nothing means anything. And, sometimes that's all you can ask for. And so I'm grateful for having had an opportunity to find that equilibrium.
As long as we make no progress as people, I think we're doing our job.
I think if at the end of 3 years we're the exact same, job well done, I'd say. So, see you in the trees, Josiah.
Yeah, when the day ends, I'm sure she feels sorrow. The lonely guy I am, I wait for her to change.